Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
Welcome, everybody, to the Flagstick Podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. He's Scott McLeod. We love doing this, especially on weeks like this, where coming off a major championship with so much drama and storylines, it's great for podcast talk. And, of course, the PGA Tour having a press conference of their own to announce some changes for 2028, not next year, but 2028. But we want to talk about this stuff, so that's why we're here. So we're going to use both our front nine and back nine to kind of chat about this stuff. The Flagstick Podcast this week is sponsored once again by our great friends at COBRA Golf and the all-new 3D printed irons featuring fully 3D printed club heads. These irons deliver an unmatched blend of feel, forgiveness, and precision, shaping that goes beyond the limits of traditional forging and casting. Experience the future of iron performance and get fit for Cobra's 3D printed irons today. Visit cobragolf.ca for more information. Obviously, we want you following us across all of our social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget our YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. And I will be posting the first of the Flagstick Academy Series tips this week, as well as something else new is coming this week.
All right, cool.
To the YouTube channel. So now you have to subscribe. No choice.
All right.
So as we said, this week we want to talk about the U.S. Open that just happened. A few different storylines that we're going to discuss. Pretty much off script on this one. And in the back nine, we mentioned there that on the heels of a article that Scott recently posted on flagstick.com about some meetings that just recently took place with respect to the new look PGA Tour coming in 2028. They had a press conference. Tiger was there. So exciting. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Still a lot of things to be discussed there, obviously, but it's timely and interesting, and we're going to get into that in the back nine. But let's do the front nine. Presented this week by Metcalfe Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Get those game packs. Adults, juniors, and family game packs are always available at Metcalfe Golf Course. Save a bunch on your golf this year. Check online for the 50th anniversary celebration events. Metcalfe is celebrating 50 years. Visit metcalfegolf.com and stay in touch with golf savings. Okay. Scott. What is happening? Let's kind of I know we're going to get into the U.S. Open talk, but
Yeah.
What's been going on since the last time we met to do such a wonderful podcast?
I think we both actually finally got to play golf. I'm reminded by a friend, Morgan Bell, who used to work for Golf Canada, who's from PEI, and there was a interview that she did years ago, and one thing that she said in her interview was that a desk is not a golf course, and that always sticks in my mind all the time. So and that's just a reminder of that. Every now and then we gotta get our butts out of the chairs, get out to the golf course and play and do the stuff that we love. So, you know what? I hadn't played in 3 weeks. Was away for a bit, went to PEI. Obviously, we've documented my noodle to the noodle journey. But I was excited to get back and busy, obviously trying to catch up with lessons and stuff too. But I got in a game on Saturday, went back down that same fairway where I got hit 3 weeks ago.
How close were you to the original position off the tee?
I was right there, but
I
was it was kind of funny because I was obviously looking towards the ninth tee box where the guy was that hit me before, but thankfully the people coming down 9 in that same direction were a student and her family, so it was good to kind of catch up. But anyways, getting back to play. It was good. It was great to get back out there. Shocked, actually, not shocked, but obviously worked on my game a lot this winter, and it was in tidy shape. Little messy, a few bogeys here and there, but ended up shooting even, and yeah, it was good. So it was nice just to get back out there. So
Very awesome.
irregardless of the
Very
score,
awesome.
I could have shot 90 and I would have been happy. So. Well, no, but
No, you
yeah,
wouldn't have been.
I'll just say that.
I don't know. I don't know where you're coming with that, and I don't know why you think that anybody would believe that you would be okay shooting 90.
No, I would not.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Lies. I wouldn't be okay shooting 90, and
No.
I generally don't really care that much about what I shoot, but
No. And the pro's coming up in a couple weeks, so
so you have to get it. You have to get it tight.
Got to get something ready.
Yeah,
so,
but is your partner getting it,
I don't know. I think
tighter? Is he just going to show up?
I think he's nursing an injury, so
oh God,
we'll see how we make out. So,
oh God.
Anyways, you got to play.
I did, yeah. I actually kind of went back to my hometown stomping grounds there. My younger brother's birthday was this past weekend, so we found a day, which happened to be Friday, where he was heading down to Kingston to spend some time with some buddies, and my son Brandon was off work that day, so I gave a call to AJ at Rockville Country Club and just check and see if there was some availability early on Friday morning. Went down and played at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
beautiful drive down, beautiful day. Wet, the course was wet, no question about that. But the rain, it wasn't raining or anything. It was a nice day to golf. So that's why they make casual water rules. So when you do run into that kind of thing, you're allowed to move your ball.
Yes, abnormal ground conditions, people. Look it up.
But it was great. Played Brockville Country Club. Haven't really played there. I've been there a bunch.
Yes, and that's our thing a lot of times.
We're always at golf courses and never play them. So
that's right.
That is part of the reason for, like I said, something that I'm going to be launching to the YouTube channel, a project I started working on last year, and I finished production of a few episodes. So that's the reason that project was created, to kind of get me out playing more, seeing more golf courses, talking about them. But Brockville was not one of the ones that we did for that. I didn't want to be filming stuff while I was, enjoying a round of golf with my son and my brother on his birthday. But played Brockville Country Club. I did not shoot even par. I believe I was 79, maybe 80. I took some liberties.
How was the putting? That's the difficult task at Brockville.
My putting wasn't terrible. No, it wasn't the putting, and my tee, my off the tee, which is the other difficult thing at Brockville, was not particularly terrible. It was kind of the stuff in between and around the greens that didn't get up and down as much as I'd like, and kind of messed up a lot of approach shots. And you know what it's like at Brockville. You miss greens. You put yourself in some very difficult spots to get up and down, and the greens can be tricky. I didn't realize that they still had the nines reversed, though.
Yeah, they did that a while ago.
I know they did that a while ago, but I thought that switched back. But I guess we switched it back for the tournament when we ran the 2-ball there. But I don't think that they had actually completely switched it back. But I mean, you still finish on the 9th and 18th the way you used to, because I mean, obviously finishing on Little Misery, the little short 9th hole. I don't think that'd be a good finishing hole for an 18-hole golf course. Nice, like probably, even though it's the shortest par 3, I still think it's probably the nicest par 3. But it was good. Enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the day, so it was nice to get around to golfing.
Have to get back there at some point. Yeah, you know what? I think one of the things you said there sort of resonated with me, and I know it's off topic, but not everything has to be content. I think people have to realize that, you know, we have obviously been creating content for 30 years. And I think some people are in this era are very much caught up in, I've got to record everything. I've got to post this, but just enjoy the experience. Like I'm not knocking it. I mean, go and do it. I love seeing some great content and stuff out there. Certainly fabulous, but it doesn't have to be every time. And sometimes there's moments that just have to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Much like a concert or stuff like that. Just enjoy the experience, and like you did, just out with your brother, out with your son, go and have a game of golf, and then it's just a richer experience, and you're not distracted by is that the right angle, try this or try that. So
So I'll tell you something though. So I'm gonna guess now. Obviously, it would be great to finish the round of golf and go have lunch in the clubhouse there. The food at Brockville is always awesome, but we didn't have lunch there.
oh, I
Uh,
know where you went.
yeah, I
I
was gonna
know
say,
where you I
do you
know
know
where
where
you
we went
went.
for lunch?
Oh, 100%. You had to go to
Having grown
Don's.
up in Brockville, you remember I grew up in Brockville, even though
Yeah,
I
yeah.
moved to Kingston later on, and then moved to Ottawa, where
Ottawa.
I am now.
Yep.
But I grew up in Brockville, and one of the things that we did in Brockville that was just a had to. We didn't do it all the time. As I explained to Brandon, what
Sure.
he experienced kind of like what we used to do, like what Sean and I used to do as kids,
Hmm.
is we would, as a family, we would go downtown on a weekend, and we would get Dawn fish and chips.
Hmm. And
And
Fridays is the big day. So, I
yeah,
mean, obviously, yeah, it had to
so
be
it
busy.
was you go down and get Dawn's fish and chips.
Yeah.
Now back then, your fish and chips was wrapped in newspaper. Now they put it in
Right.
paper bags because
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
there's
yeah.
probably newspapers not readily available anymore. Plus the ink. um, and
That was
then you
part of the
take it,
flavor.
you drive down to Blockhouse Island,
Yes.
drive around, find a spot, park, go to a picnic
Yes.
table. Eventually, you're
Yes.
surrounded by seagulls, but just the view and everything is great. You're sitting at the picnic table. It's a little chilly, little windy.
Yeah.
That's what we did, and so
Sure.
Brandon
Cool.
got to experience that, which is something that he hasn't experienced
That's
yet.
cool. That's fun.
And Sean and I got to kind of re-experience that a little bit
Yeah.
because we haven't done it in a long time. But that's kind of
Yeah.
like why we went to Brockville Country Club, and go so we could go to Don's and a
Yeah.
birthday thing. Anyway, just awesome day, lots
Love
of
that.
fun. But you're right, and interesting to your point about not about content.
Yeah.
I happened to come across, being a hockey guy, I happened to come across a post from somebody that I follow on social media
Okay.
that generally has some pretty good content. And every once in a while, some they're so desperate for content now,
Yeah.
because everything is being done over. Like when it comes to the hockey stuff, they always have the little skits about the AAA coach during
Sure.
tryouts, or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
coaches,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
buying them off. And here I'm so and so
Yeah.
from Jack's Construction, you're
Yeah.
sponsor the jerseys, whatever. That's all fun and games and joking, and it pokes fun at some reality.
Sure.
Okay, so when you poke fun at reality, I'm okay with it. When you try to poke fun, to make content, to make fun of something that, in an encouraging something that coaches discourage,
Hmm.
and make it seem like it's, because you got to remember who your audience is, and a lot of these hockey content guys, their audiences are the younger kids, the teenagers. It's not so much the older
No.
teenagers, and they don't buy into it. But this content was basically, it was going on about how, you know, uh, don't something that you should not do, which I know he was reverse psychologizing things a little bit, but don't, when the coach blows his whistle, don't be the first guy in to take a knee in the group. Go work. Coaches
Mm.
and scouts appreciate you working on your Michigans and your shot. Get your extra shots in. Don't worry about learning the drill. You'll figure that out like, I know it's jokingly, but the younger kids look at that, and
Yeah.
that is one of the things as a hockey coach that you discourage at the highest level. It's one of the first
Hmm.
things that I tell the kids in the very first practice is, when I blow the whistle, I don't
Yeah.
care what you're doing. I don't
Yeah.
want to
You're
hear a
in.
puck hit the boards. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear any stick handling. I want everybody here in front of the
Yeah.
whiteboard to listen, or at the next drill. And then when you start creating content that is taking away
Hmm.
from what we're trying to teach in the first place, then you're crossing a line with your content that doesn't need to be crossed. So if you're that desperate for content, then
We'll
maybe you got a
we'll
problem with your
we'll
channel.
we'll put this in golf context at some point, and it'll
Yeah.
probably be an entire episode, because I believe me, I fight with this every single day, with people that all of a sudden bring stuff forward, and I can flip over and pick a social media platform, and I will see some sort of crap, unmeasured, whatever advice. And
Yeah.
sadly, as we've said multiple times before, people look at an audience as authority, and it is not necessarily authority. and it takes people down some wrong roads. But anyways,
Anyway, yes.
and you know what? That's sort of relative a little bit here, because when we start to talk about the U.S. Open that just happened, and
Hmm.
we talk about the groundswell that happened, and a lot of it.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of it due to social media,
Yep.
as far as the ability of people to, make comments and so forth, and not taking into account that there's still a human on the other end of it. Whether you like somebody or not, whether you're justified or not, whether you actually know somebody or not, people are quick to judge. And a lot of it comes from the social side of it. And, that definitely played into Wyndham Clark, wins the second U.S. Open title. But oh boy, it didn't sound like anybody on Long Island wanted him, or on social media, wanted him to win. I won't say everyone, right?
But you know what? And I think as media, I think, so everybody, we're talking about the U.S. Open now.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're kind of going to go like, this is not about us recapping the fact. Everybody knows Wyndham Clark
No, no,
won.
no.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows that he had a 6-shot lead, and he
Mhm.
was playing. And I think that the key here to how this unfolded on Sunday, which is where it really kind of took a turn for the worse,
Yeah.
was the fact that he was in that group with Scotty Scheffler. And I think
Yeah.
had Scotty Scheffler been 5 groups ahead of him and
Yes.
and
Different
20
animal.
shots back,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think that the narrative would have been quite the same, because
Yeah.
there wasn't really, other than what Sam Burns was doing in a
Right.
different group,
Yeah.
there really wasn't anybody in there, I think, that people were really gravitating to get behind and root for, other than Scheffler. And then it just became the Wyndham Clark, tear down Wyndham Clark narrative.
Yeah.
Now,
And people need to go back and look at our episode 159 that talked about heroes and villains. And this
yeah,
is
well,
exactly it. So, yes. All right. Keep going. I want to hear what you got to
now
say.
now Wyndham Clark. Let's set the stage here.
Sure.
Um, and Wyndham Clark admitted this in his own press conference too.
Of
By the way,
course.
let me say that he he said in his press conference that he felt like maybe he created some of this on his own by
Of
his
course.
actions
Yep.
at Oakmont the year before.
Hmm.
Okay, and rightfully so. My opinion of Wyndham Clark.
Hmm.
I've never been a massive Wyndham Clark fan as far as him being one of my faves, even after he won at LAC.
Sure.
Um, good player,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff, but kind of dry, kind of boring as far as
Yeah.
golfers go.
Yeah.
But you don't, I don't hold guys. I don't hold that against them. I mean,
No.
everybody handles. This is professional sport. Not everybody has to be John Daly. Not everybody has to be high fiving and fist pumping and being
Right.
everybody's best. Scotty Scheffler isn't exactly a
Super
pillar
outgoing.
of
Yes,
joy
exactly.
when he's out
Yes.
on the golf course either.
Right.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't come across as that angry, mean guy. And Wyndham kind of has that vibe about him. He just doesn't seem like a nice guy. But I don't know him. And
Hmm.
90% of us or more also don't know him. So we're
Yeah.
drawing
90,
conclusions and opinions based on
99.9%.
nothing.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion of him dropped significantly when he did what he did at Oakmont, because
Of
here's the
course.
thing that I don't condone. When someone does something like that and then comes out and says, I was in a difficult place mentally, tough beans. We're all in
Mm.
difficult places mentally. We don't go and destroy somebody else's property because something didn't go our way. Go to your car, kick in your tire, your doors, break your glass, break your clubs over your knee in the parking lot if you want to, but don't destroy someone else's property. So, and I get it, in the moment stuff happens, but you've got to be in more control of yourself than that. So that set the tone for a lot of this is over the last year, just what people's opinion of Wyndham Clark was. Um, and then you put him in the final group with Scotty Scheffler, knowing that Scotty Scheffler needs to win the U.S. Open to complete
Yeah,
the
win the
career
Grand
Grand
Slam.
Slam on Father's Day, on his birthday. So you're
Yep.
setting a stage that this is a script that you just couldn't write.
Hmm.
And had it not been a 6-shot lead, I think that things might have been different all around. But at the same time, maybe Scotty was pushing a little bit more to try to make up that ground, and it wasn't going his way, so he pushed a little bit more. So this is why he had the up and down, and Wyndham just kept, I caught myself sitting at the TV going, he'd miss I'd be like, he'd miss a fairway, and I'm like, oh, good. And I'm like,
Mm.
you know, why am I'm rooting against this guy, not because I don't want him to win, but because I want Scheffler to stay in it. Because I want
Mm.
Scheffler to get this career Grand Slam. But at the same time, as much as I want Scheffler to get this, Scheffler's not earning it
That's right.
at this
Exactly.
point. Sam
Yes.
Burns earned that an opportunity to win the U.S. Open on Sunday.
Right.
Scotty Scheffler didn't earn it. Tom
No.
Kim didn't earn it.
Mm-mm. Wyndham Clark earned it.
Wyndham Clark earned it. Like, I mean, let's give credit where credit is due. That was a freaking grind on Sunday, especially. Just talking about Sunday. Sunday was a grind. Yes, he gave himself the cushion on Thursday when he took advantage of the weather, the wind lying down on Thursday afternoon, and he dropped birds. And he got 6 under. Because he milked that thing for the rest of the round. But he didn't it didn't just like, oh, here's another par, here's another par, here's another par. He had to earn every, and then it was great golf to watch on his part. It's just not the person you wanted to in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody. I mean, there's obviously some people that are going to be fans of him for some particular reason, and that's their prerogative to do that. I think I didn't find myself cheering against him as much as looking at the situation and hoping that it was a closer match,
which it was, just not between those two.
Right. And let's take the players out of it. It wouldn't matter if it was one player or the other. And in general, for me, I just wanted to see a very close battle. And when you all of a sudden go into that, final round and you're up by that great margin, it just makes it less dramatic. Now, I caught the end of it. I watched all the highlights afterwards. I was playing golf for the first part of it because when I looked at the tee times and what was available, and I was like, oh, I'll miss the first part of the U.S. Open. If a person has that much of a lead, and hey, I was fully on the team of the fact that it was not going to be a big separation by the time they went to the back nine. In fact, I posted about that because a couple people are like, "Oh, it's only academic." I'm like, "No, it's the U.S. Open.
It's never academic at a U.S.
It's never
Open.
academic." So, it definitely became something, and I think. No matter what you think of a player, and again, we'll go back to that villains and heroes sort of things. No matter what you think of a player, in some ways, even if you don't respect them personally, you can still respect their game and their skills and what they're able to do. And to win 2 U.S. Opens, to do it with, the fans against you, largely. And just look at the pots that he made. Like, oh my word, on Saturday. Unbelievable. I mean, it was just a grind, and that's what you expect from a U.S. Open, and it's having to get up and down and do that sort of things. And as you said, as much as the fans wanted to cheer on someone else, and again, this was an oddity because it's a U.S. player on U.S. soil, yet the fans were somehow just riled up and going in a pack mentality. It's like totally against them. Scotty wasn't. He wasn't really a factor, it wasn't, he didn't make it as close as it could have. In fact, obviously, as you said, Burns is the one who ended up one back in the end, and Tom Kim
missed 2 crucial putts coming in. But exactly. those are the putts that Wyndham Clark was making.
Yes, exactly.
Except he was making them for par,
right?
And Sam Burns was missing them for birdie. So it's
and in fact, we saw probably more frustration from Scotty during the week at a couple of times. Obviously Clark's history, the incident or whatever, will carry over for a while. Mental health discussions aside, childhood trauma, whatever the case. And obviously everybody goes through a lot of different things, as you mentioned. But when we take it down just to the event as it was, I mean, I think Shinnecock delivered. It went from everybody, I really got a kick out of this out of the first round. Everybody's like, oh man, this course is so easy. And look at the scores and whatever. And it's like, just why do you wait?
Did you look at the scores though? That was the thing.
Why do you wait a tick? And, or or listen to the actual what the players are saying, about the challenge that it is out there and how difficult that it is. And you know what? Yes, it didn't blow sideways, but certainly, the
But if it
course stood
had,
up. Oh my word!
like
It was
let's just understand something.
three
Three
finished under
players
par.
finished the tournament under par,
Yeah,
and out of an entire field of practically the best players on the planet.
yeah, exactly.
And the wind was not really a major factor
No,
on Saturday and Sunday.
no, exactly. So
So
that tells you,
yeah,
how good it was. So
so I do like I know that I was kind of saying I noticed that they didn't seem to struggle in the rough, and I don't know why that was because I've seen footage of obviously 2018
yes, when
and
Brooks
to,
won
and 2005 was
four,
it
four.
2004.
Yeah.
And both times I saw footage of those when guys were in the rough,
Mm.
they were hack and hope.
Yeah,
But I'm not seeing, and I don't know if this is a product of the course thinning out the rough, or if it's equipment or just the overall strength of the players nowadays. But the old days when I used to watch U.S. Opens, like going, talking, 15 years ago, someone would hit it in the rough in a U.S. Open, and
Mm.
9 times out of 10, the only play they had was to take a wedge and hack it back to the fairway.
Yeah, this is
We
different
don't
rough
see
though.
that anymore.
Well, this is different rough, and I also think, if we go back and look at it from a historic standpoint, I mean, the shots that you end up see highlighted are the ones where they're in a bad situation. They're not going to show and highlight a player hitting it successfully out of the rough. You're
Yeah.
going to see the highlights of somebody having a hard time advancing the ball 10 yards. So that shapes the narrative as opposed to seeing every single shot.
Again,
And
like we just talked about, right? Like
right, exactly. It's
you see
selective.
what they want. We see
Right.
what they want us to see.
Yeah.
Um, so we see every struggle shot. We see all the spectacular shots, but we don't
Correct.
usually see all the in between. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so I feel like Shinnecock lived up to
yeah,
itself. Like it was a great setup. The USGA did a really good job of keeping the greens fair,
yes, yeah.
and the
I
pin
agree.
positions appropriate for the conditions that were provided.
Yeah,
Still like to see the fairways skinnier, but I also saw, like we talked about,
yeah.
with the wider fairways
The other
wrapping
elements that
around
came into
some of those
play.
bunkers, it brought some of those bunkers into play, which
Right.
may not have been in play because the rough
Yeah,
would have kind of interfered with the ball getting there.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
saw some tee shots go into bunkers that might not have gotten to bunkers.
yeah.
So there's always some trade-offs when
Hmm.
you start setting courses up like this. Is you
Yeah,
narrow fairways, but if you narrow fairways and push all the trouble out to the right and left,
yeah. It
then
just
you're
changed.
not.
It just changed them. You're
Yeah,
not really, and I think the thing that we want from a championship is we want it to identify the best player.
yeah,
It shouldn't be a case of you feel like someone got lucky or whatever. And the fact that Wyndham came in here and won it wire to wire, it's just not done. You know what I mean? He's the ninth player to do it wire to wire in
yeah.
all history. But the fact that he did it that way and hung on, and I think one of the things that probably helped him was the fact that obviously he's won before. I mean, he knows
Mhm.
the formula.
Yeah.
If this was a different thing, if he hadn't won at LACC, a few years back, then this is a guy sweating it to try to win his first major. So it might be very different of how he plays, and you saw a number of other players kind of spit the bit, and that's just the way it happens. But he fought his way through it. So yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit, whether you like him or not. You're going to go have a beer with him or not, or going to have some grape with him or not.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
just stuff.
would we have seen anything different out of Wyndham Clark on Sunday at the U.S. Open had he had a one-shot lead going into the day over Scotty Scheffler?
Oh yeah, I think so
I
for
mean, and
sure.
that
Yeah,
changes the narrative a little bit, or it changes the
yeah,
way he looks
hmm
at it. You start the day with a six-shot lead, you're thinking, okay, well, if I shoot even par, someone has to shoot 5 under to catch me,
right.
and that's going to be tough out here today. So I just need to
Yeah,
keep making pars. I don't need to go at pins. I don't need to make birdies. I don't need to take
mm,
chances. I just need to stay. I need to shoot even par.
yeah,
He didn't.
No.
And therefore someone who had a really good day in Sam Burns got close. And if
Yeah.
not for a couple of, and here's the thing, we can say, well, if Burns had made the one on 17 and 18,
Yeah.
he would have
Well,
beat him. Well, yeah, but then if Wyndham Clark had made the one on this and this, he would have
yeah.
regained. Like, you can't look at it like that, because
No, I
what
mean,
if one person did? What if
yeah.
someone else did too?
I mean, you
So
look at the last birdie he made, that obviously was huge and made the difference
yeah,
in the
it's
end.
clutch.
And we did see him sort of, you could see as he was coming up down 18. I mean, definitely, you saw him taking his time, obviously, when he was hitting that approach, and he wasn't quite happy with it at first because he knew he was going to leave himself 50 feet when he
Yep.
hit that to the front or whatever, but he overcame it, hit that putt. So it was a tap in, because believe me, I don't think you want a 3-footer that all of a sudden gives away that entire lead and puts you in a playoff for the US Open. So he won this on Thursday, but he survived it on the weekend, right?
Yep, no question about it. Okay. Some other notes from the US Open. The moment with his dad on 18, that was really cool. How his dad grabbed the red eye, made sure he got there. Man, oh man, I'm at that point when I found that I'm like, oh God, I hope he wins.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt as much as I wanted possibly a different outcome. I think once Scheffler was sort of out of it, I was kind of like, all right, well, if Burns wins, that's great. And then they mentioned about his dad being there. I'm like, oh, geez, I hope he wins now. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Wyndham Clark, but I would hate to see that happen. But that was cool. The young amateur there. His dad caddied for him. Yeah, no.
Miles Russell.
Miles Russell. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's so many amateurs in my brain there. But yeah,
his
Miles
dad
Russell
subbed in on 18.
Getting his dad to caddy for him coming up 18. That was really cool. Like, that's one of the things about US Open. It's a Father's Day tradition, right? Yeah. So you kind of get that father's thing in there, and that was really, really quite cool.
And really, and Shinnecock in that setting, as we said last week, is just a great spot. So, I mean, you kind of miss it, and hey, it'll be back there in 10 years, and Wyndham is exempt for 10 years, so he'll be back.
We have to get out for break. Two things real quick. Number one, for the listeners, were you pulling for Wyndham? Did you get caught up in the crowd energy that was happening? Let us know in the comments on the video, or message us directly with your feedback on that. We really appreciate that. The other thing is there a Long Island problem when it comes to hosting major championships in the PGA or major events in the PGA Tour? This was brought up on an interview done with
many interviews
regarding this on the Golf Channel and some other places too, where the Long Island crowds are just over the top dumb. And maybe they shouldn't go back to Long Island anymore for a while, and sort of, if this is a problem, because it seemed to have been a problem at the Ryder Cup. It seemed to be a problem with Phil and Tiger at Bethpage Black a while back when Tiger and Phil were going at it there. It seemed to be a problem here at Shinnecock. Maybe it's something to take a look at and something to consider. I don't know. Discussion for another podcast, obviously, because we can't get into it too much. But it seemed to me like they were just like, that's just unacceptable behavior from a golf crowd. Golf is supposed to be better than that. But in this case, it wasn't.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get out. When we come back, we're going to dig into the new look PGA Tour, at least as much as we know, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion about that. So stay with us. You're listening to and watching the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
The future isn't forged, it's printed. We've combined 3D printing and state-of-the-art engineering to revolutionize how golf clubs are made. Our internal lattice saves an incredible amount of weight and moves it where it matters most. Irons with unmatched feel, forgiveness, and precision, all engineered into a compact player's shape. Performance only possible with 3D printing. Only possible with COBRA Golf.
Welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Sorry. Sometimes the little break
moments.
Has some off-air moments, but okay.
We're back.
Clock in.
You good?
Back 9. All right, we're going to talk about some of the PGA Tour changes that have been approved for 2028. So let's get to our back nine, presented this week by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. 27 holes of fun and challenging golf at great rates. Falcon Ridge is a golfing experience that you should not miss. Do not forget, Falcon Ridge also has the first TrackMan range facility in Eastern Ontario. TrackMan Range is all about easy-to-use, exciting features that provide the ultimate range experience for every golfer at every level. That's practice games and virtual golf. To book your tee times or to book one of the 10 TrackMan Range bays, visit falconridgegolf.ca. Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's set the table for some of this, okay? So
Sure.
PGA Tour running along smooth. You got the PGA Tour. You got the Corn Ferry Tour. You got the PGA Tour Americas. You got all this stuff going on, and Live Golf comes around, and Live Golf kind of jams the proverbial stick in your spokes of your bike as you're riding along downhill, nice and smooth, and the bike tips over and you've got to figure out what to do next. So we know that Live Golf is most likely on its way out. We don't know for sure. Who knows what could happen there, but chances are we figure that Live Golf is on its way out with its lack of funding and big money contracts. It's probably not going to continue to survive. So PGA Tour makes some changes along the way. Signature series events, elevated events, bigger purses, all that kind of stuff. And then what happens? This. So what we're trying to do here is everybody has kind of known that this change was coming. It's been discussed for quite a while. We've discussed it on this podcast a few times, the tier 1, tier 2 stuff. We even joked about, they better come up with better names. Seems like they tried very hard and still didn't succeed, but they did come up with different working names.
Working names, yes. They're still not finalized.
I sure hope that these are not the actual names, because anyway, we'll get into that. But
sure.
So, I guess the first thing to kind of to talk about here is, what are these changes? Generally speaking, what's this look like? And then we can kind of get into, the pros and cons and what's that mean? What does it mean for the Canadian, the RBC Canadian Open? Because that, based on what we've seen here, this has big effects on the RBC Canadian Open.
Yeah, and for other events as well. I heard some other angles and stuff today talking about it in particular. So, as you mentioned, things got disrupted by Live. Obviously, the PGA Tour went into protectionary mode, trying to, put money out there in a way that could keep the top players. Maybe thought that they needed all the top players at every single event, which is really hard to do, especially when you have independent contractors and so forth. Created a very insulated environment where it maybe went away from the full meritocracy that we've talked about before. And one of the advantages, or one of the appeals of the tour, is that, so what they've done is they basically looked at, they had the signature events, they had the regular events, they had the fall series events. So basically, what they've done is reorganized it. And with what they've done is they've approved a framework. There's still a lot more details to come, and those little details are going to matter a lot to a lot of events, and because those are the questions now that exist. So basically what they've done is they're creating, as you mentioned, track 1, track 2, basically a championship series and a challenger series. This is what's proposed and approved for 2028. The whole idea is that, you're going to have the top players that are in this championship series. The second level will be the challenger series. In the top series, you're going to have the key events. You're going to basically have the best players in the world all playing for a minimum, $20 million purse events. So again, these are your top players. At least 90 will gain their status there, and then there'll be spots available for at least 20 more. key factors in some of those things, no sponsors exemptions into those, which, obviously some people were rankled a little bit about, obviously things like player advisory board members and so forth, and so forth, getting all of a sudden these spots and so forth. But they're saying none, which could be a bit of a problem as well, because that could lead into some other things. Now, the Challenger Series, which would be underneath that series, and let's say the Championship Series will be 72 hole stroke play formats for the most part, 36 hole cuts, with some special formats, obviously, for like pro-ams like Pebble Beach and stuff like that. 120 player fields as opposed to those cut down 70 player fields. The whole idea is that if you've qualified for the Championship Series, you should be able to stay there and play there, not to all of a sudden have to drop down to other things. For the players below that, you're going to see the PGA Tour Challenger Series, which again is 20 plus events. This is a minimum $4 million purse for these events.
It's a big drop.
It is a big drop. It's a big difference between the two, and still obviously going to be fine enough to make a living. And we have to say that's a minimum $4 million. So if there's an event that's $7 million out there, that could be still
but that
part
comes
of that
down
series.
to the spot. It's not a tour thing.
Correct.
That's a tour mandate that tour is saying, if you want to have a Challenger Series event, it's a $4 million minimum. But if you want that purse to be $10 million,
you can.
Then you can. However, what we now know is that it doesn't matter how much money you put into that purse. If it's below 20 million, it can never be a Champion Series event. And if it's below 20 million, anybody playing on that Champions Tour will not be coming
Championship Series,
highlight your Challenger Series event.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, while this other series will exist and players will have obviously access and be able to work their way up from the one series to the next, and they'll obviously be able to work their way down as well, but there will be some opportunities as far as fall events. And the other sort of side note here is that the PGA Tour is also promising something that's more working with the DP World Tour, with international opens and stuff more in the fall. So post-tour championship, which they have said the playoffs now will incorporate some match play, although they haven't said specifically that the Tour Championship will be match play. They've said the playoffs, there will be some match play that's in there. So again, more details to come. Biggest thing from this more than anything is that, they're trying to reorganize it so that we have a clearer system so that fans can understand it. Maybe give some more opportunities at the top level for those players to be there, and not like, we got some great players that all of a sudden they're at 80th and they can't get into the top tier events. But as we said, where the complications sort of start to come are for some of the events that are maybe somewhat in between, or they're special. And that's where we start to go. And now before we get to the Canadian Open one, someone mentioned, so no sponsors exemptions, and also the Championship Series, those players can't play down. So they're not allowed to play in the Challenger Series events.
Right, which is what I was bringing up there. Like now, for instance, you got, say, let's use the RBC Canadian Open.
Well, before we get to that one, because I think that one's going to get bigger, but let's just look at an example of the Byron Nelson. Okay. And if Scotty Scheffler is in the Championship Series, they're telling Scotty Scheffler that he can't play because most likely the Byron Nelson will be in the Challenger Series. Mm-hmm. So now you can't play in your hometown. You can't, because there's no sponsors exemption or whatever. Now,
but this is something that situation is what was just approved.
Correct. So
which means that's done. Like
no, they did say that there is some space in there, that there are going to be some spots available for past champions and different things or whatever. Again, that's where their little out is a little bit right now, which could help them in that situation. Maybe
that's kind of unfair.
Well, that's the whole idea. It's like, okay, if you're now creating this system where it's the one tier and the other, you're right, that's going to create an issue. And now when we start to apply this to the RBC Canadian Open, which is a national championship with open qualifying, with ways to give exemptions to a lot more Canadians to be able to go in and play and have the opportunity, considering that this event is run by Golf Canada in cooperation with the PGA Tour and RBC as a sponsor, this gets really complicated really, really fast.
Okay, so let's just hold on to that thought with the RBC Canadian Open for a minute here, and let's take a look. About a week ago, Rory made a comment, or I guess it was during the U.S. Open. Rory made a comment that that the track 2 of this new plan, so what is now being dubbed the Challenger Series, and please change the name of both of these.
Yeah.
First of all, I was totally confused now by the Championship Series. Now, what happens to the Champions Tour? Because now I'm confused which is which. So change the name of these, please.
Yes, for sure.
Come up with, and the Challenger Series, is that not the European Tour's Corn Ferry version?
The Challenge Tour?
The Challenge Tour. So again, you're like, let's get creative here.
Yes.
So
or general fans will be lost.
So what we understand is that Corn Ferry Tour is still going to exist. PGA Tour Americas is still going to exist.
Apparently, yes.
Q School is still going to exist.
Correct.
So when Rory made the comments that the Track 2 or the Challenger Series of this new PGA Tour system was just a glorified Corn Ferry Tour, probably shouldn't have spoken.
He clarified. Yeah, he clarified more later.
That
but
said,
anyways, yes.
That said, now, let's just take a look at this for a second, because I'm looking at the 90 and above players currently on the FedEx Cup, and and I know, I'm in the golf industry, you're in the golf industry, so I look at this list and I see all these players. I'm like, okay, I know that guy, I know this, whatever, but majority of the guys that are in this 90 plus are probably mostly unknown to most golfers that would tune in to watch PGA Tour events. They wouldn't have a clue who some of these guys are. Right. With not having the top guys being able to come down and play in the John Deere Classic or the Byron Nelson or some of the other ones. Okay, so let's just look at that.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Now the only players playing in some of these second tier events are players that are unknown, which means there's no big name draw.
Yeah.
How long will John Deere want to sponsor the John Deere Classic? And why would John Deere want to put up anything more than $4 million for a tournament that he knows,
which it costs them more than that? So,
right. But the thing is, that the players that are outside the 90, they're all going to be in the event. Like, they're all going to be in this event. This is not like they're going to have trouble filling the event. There's going to be these events are going to be full. But are people going to come and watch Bryce Garnett, or are they going to come and watch Chandler Phillips or William Mao or Rico Hui? Honestly, these guys might be outstanding golfers. So don't anybody get me wrong. No. One of these guys could be the next Open champion or the next Masters champion, except not anymore. Because even winning on a Challenger Tour or Series event probably is not getting you an exemption into the Masters anymore. Which in the past, if you won the John Deere Classic,
you're in.
You're in the Masters. Now you're probably not getting in the Masters based on that, unless it's the Masters event, so they can do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
They can still say if you win in the Challenge Series or the Championship Series, you can still get in, but that doesn't get you an exemption to the U.S. Open or the Open Championship.
And this is the danger. Yes, we want meritocracy. So if a player plays well and they work their way up, they should have access to the top events, even if we know them or not. But that said, if we're fully excluded from the top players, as you're mentioning, then that make it much more difficult from a marketing perspective for those Challenger Series events to appeal to a crowd, and as you said, to the sponsors. And this right now is very much a struggle as far as a difficult economy, a decision by big companies to put all their eggs in a basket that costs them millions and millions of dollars. So it becomes down to a big decision, like what's their motivation behind doing it? Is the value there for them? Do we know that or not? And that's when you start to get to, okay, yes, you want to be in the Championship Series, but if it's going to cost you $20 million for the purse plus more millions to support the event or whatever, is the value there for you? For some companies, that's going to be easy. They'll write that check and away you go. But it also complicates things for other ones. So yes, you all already have multiple tiers on the tour. You definitely already have different levels of tournaments, but even the lower level tournaments at this point, like you mentioned, John Deere, good example, or Byron Nelson, they still have a sprinkling of the better known players that are allowed to play in that. But if they're excluded from that, then that becomes a case of, okay, and again, no offense to the Corn Ferry Tour, but we know that out on the Corn Ferry Tour, they're not attracting crowds. I mean, you go to an average PGA Tour Americas event or a Corn Ferry Tour event, there's not many people there. So
Well,
spectator, so
therein lies my point when I say about the bottom, the 91 and above, is that when Rory says it's a glorified Corn Ferry Tour, and then, you can step back and retract that, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
In some elements of it, for sure.
The crowds are not going to show up at the John Deere Classic to watch people play, to watch. I don't want to use the nobodies.
No, you don't even need to use it. You don't even know need to know. Yes, but I know what you're saying. Without
they're not going to show up. So what if? Yeah. What if they went back on this a little bit and said, okay, they're already saying that the top 90 are automatically on the championship series. And then that means that there's 30, and then they say those fields will have a minimum of 120 players.
Right, because they said there'll be 20 that come up from the championship series, so then that leaves a little bit of space.
But that's from the championship series from
correct.
The year before.
Previous
so they're
year.
they're saying at the end of the year, the top 90 are going to be on the tour the next year, and the top 30 or the top 20 from the Challenge Series are going to be on the tour the next year. So that means that every event is going to have 110 guaranteed spots plus medical exemptions and whatever, not sponsors exemptions, but medical exemptions,
career
wins,
career.
So they're holding, but there's no alternates. So there's not going to be anybody sitting there. There's no Monday qualifiers and there's no alternates. So why can't you have it so that on the so that's your championship series. That's your top tier. No extra.
There still could be some Monday qualifiers. So anyway,
see, I would get rid of that altogether. How can you have Monday qualifiers but no sponsors exemptions? It's basically
there you go.
There shouldn't be any openings to get in.
These are the details that really need to be sorted out. So, anyways, keep going.
Why can't you have it if you've got you're basically saying 120 full up top?
Yep.
And there's no alternates, no Monday qualifiers. There's no other way to get in other than having earned your spot from the previous year on one of either the Challenge or the Championship Series, or having medical exemptions or past champion status or whatever the case may be. That means that there's a 144 player field down below.
Correct.
Why can't they say that if a player from up above wants to participate in a lower event, that there's say 15 spots or 10 spots or 15 spots open until X date for championship series players, like Scotty Scheffler wants to play in his hometown event, that they apply to be granted exempt into the Challenger Series event that week, which helps that series event draw crowds by having bigger name players in it. And that means, okay, well then that means that there's 15 players that from the Challenger Series that aren't getting a spot to play that week.
Correct.
So they can go and play Corn Ferry or PGA Tour America.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say so they could do something like that if they're going to have to, because otherwise you're going to lose these events. You're going to lose these events.
That's the hard part. It's balancing that meritocracy versus the sponsor stuff. Like, I get it. You know what? You want to give those players in the Challenger Series as much opportunity and not have to, they don't have to battle the championship status players. But the problem is, as you said, from a sponsor standpoint, in the end, there's no tournament if there's no sponsor,
right.
And that's the key aspect of it. And if the sponsor can't bring value to their brand by having people there, getting media attention and so forth, that becomes, and this is going to be the real struggle. This is really going to be the struggle. And as I said, we start to get into something even more complicated with the RBC Canadian Open. Now,
let's get into that.
Yeah, so RBC is obviously a sponsor of two events, the RBC Heritage and the RBC Canadian Open. RBC Heritage has been a signature event. The complication, of course, is that the signature tour events have a limited field. So it's been difficult to apply that to the Canadian Open because it is an open championship. It's a national championship. It has regional qualifiers. Because it's run by Golf Canada, they've got a situation there where they've got some special exemptions. So generally, like this year, you end up with 22 Canadians that are in the Canadian Open, and a lot of them came through qualifiers or exemptions through Team Canada and so forth. Well, guess what? If you all of a sudden, RBC says, hey, we want the Canadian Open to be elevated, we're going to put up the $20 million. Uh-oh. Now all of a sudden you've got championship status events, and you're all of a sudden going, oh, okay, well, only those players are there. We don't have sponsors exemptions. So now Golf Canada doesn't get the exemptions. RBC doesn't get exemptions. There's no sponsors exemptions. So the field gets put together, which is good to a certain point. So again, you have to balance all these different things. It's good because you have the top players and stuff that are there. But you know what? A couple years ago, Sudarshan Yelamaraju, who would play on an exemption. Now this year, obviously, he played his own merit because he got in, and he's getting into events because of his play. But that's a player that's got the experience of playing in the Canadian Open on an exemption and stuff before. So that gate closes. Now the other side of it, okay, let's say they don't put up 20 million.
This is where it gets even more interesting,
right? You make it part of the Challenger Series. Okay, you can continue running. You can have a $10 million purse. You can be great and you can run this, and that. But guess what? Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, Nick Taylor, Taylor Pendrith, Sudarshan Yelamaraju, all the players that are obviously doing things at a high level and would be part of the championship status, they can't play down. So they're all of a sudden not allowed, so that you can't play in them. So that would happen, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's no good. Now, the tour has talked about, in their press release, they talked about a series of events that are working with the DP World Tour. Now, traditionally, the PGA Tour doesn't talk about the Canadian Open as an international event, but they did say
that might be the workaround.
Once the August part is done, they're working on this series that would work in combination with the DP World Tour that we don't have a lot of details for right now. That would include international opens and so forth. That would be in a kind of a different category. That could be the spot where the Canadian Open could continue to function the same way that it does now, although it would end up with back to more of the later date, which could be good for them in some ways. Yes, you don't get the kids, you don't get the summer stuff or whatever, but you're also away from the majors as well. So it remains to be seen of how that's going to work out. But in all the cases with this, I mean, this creates a lot of problems, not only for RBC, but for Golf Canada, because the Canadian Open is a big cash cow for them and it supports a lot of other programs and things that happen. So this gets complicated really, really fast.
Well, there's another potential issue there. If it does become part of spin into DP World Tour status as an international event, is it happening at a time when there are no PGA Tour events? Because right now they're talking about the Championship Series and the Challenger Series running concurrently.
Correct.
So you're going to have one event happening, and at the same time you're going to have another event happening, and potentially you're going to have a Corn Ferry Tour running at the same time. Now, if this Canadian Open event, even though it's later in the season, falls at the same time as something that's happening within the PGA Tour, now what?
Yeah, and I think
you know what I mean, because now you're not. Yeah. Now you don't have the players from the PGA, the Challenge Series players have to go play the Challenge Series event for their points and stuff.
Yeah,
the Championship Series are going to be playing their event. Corn Ferry guys are going to be playing their event because it's late in the season, so points are on the line. So who's left to play in the DP in the Canadian Open other than the Canadian? Because there's not going to be any shufflers. There's not going to be any unless those guys aren't playing the Championship Series that week.
Well, I think the Championship Series would be done by then.
So you might get guys like Fitzpatrick and
that's done. Yeah, so that's done by August. This would be obviously something that happens. They're calling it elevated international events in the fall, wherever that amounts to. But
so it might work out.
Yeah, we just don't want to get too late in the fall here.
No, because not in Canada, especially if you're holding it in Ontario.
Yeah, well, exactly. So all of a sudden now,
anybody played golf in the fall in Ontario?
Yeah. Well, this is where a lot of things become really, really complicated. Is that, I see people online pushing, going, "Oh, great, RBC, give it the great spot and make it part of the championship series." Okay, yes, but,
You get the top guys,
yeah, but you miss
but you
out on
lose
all
all
the
the
other
You
stuff.
lose all the Canadian unless with these
Yes,
10 extra spots that they potentially have for medicals, exemptions and stuff, that there's something that can be negotiated into the new championship series agreement with respect to these extra
right.
spots, that they do
Yes,
allow
yes,
sponsor exemptions, so Golf Canada can host a qualifier, or they can at least inject their
yes,
Canadian players into the
yes.
field. Like
Yeah,
that's the only
yeah,
way that it would work
yeah,
uh, as a championship series event, or as a challenger series event potentially,
yeah.
where they may not get the big guys, but they still get the Canadians.
Yeah, I know it's complicated, and I think that the thing here is we're presenting the framework, but we don't have all the details yet. And
No.
and I'm sure there's a lot of scrambling going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes. And we have to remember too, because RBC is a sponsor of two events, that has to be respected. By the tour, is like, okay, you can't just throw away the relationship with a sponsor like that. So you definitely have to work to kind of massage that and keep that. So I mean, as nice as this is, they put a bow on it and they present it out there and they bring it out, man, there's so much more that's going to have to get sorted for each individual event, as much as they're trying to make it as clear as possible as far as
Mhm.
the rules. And I think as clear as they're trying to make it, hey, I like it in many, many ways, but it's the devil is always in the details. And that's where it gets complicated. And unfortunately, as much as they're trying to make this simple for a golf fan, look, the general golf fan is still not getting this as far as how they figure it out. I mean, it's just, there's still a lot going on here. Do I think it's a nice backtrack from, maybe being overreactive to the live thing? I think so. I think it's what they're going to have to do in some ways, but man, it's like there's just a lot that has to get
I
sorted
just
out.
question myself, like, what are we doing here with these simultaneous learning events? Like right now, um, let's
We
see,
have some opposite field
the
events.
average golfer right now will tune in to watch golf on TV. If it's a major, they're probably tuning in more. If it's not, I mean, even if it's a signature series event, most people are not watching all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day
No.
Sunday. So if they're tuning in on the weekend to watch some golf, these events are running at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're all in different time zones all the time. So it's not like you can get up in the morning at 7 and watch one event, and then tune in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and watch the back nine of another event. So
Hmm.
you got to choose when you're watching on TV. You're choosing. Most
Yeah.
people are not going to choose to watch the event that has the 91 to
No, and
140 player. They're going to
we
watch the
see
other one.
that.
So what does that
Yeah.
do for the TV revenue of the second
Yeah.
level events and the
Hmm.
exposure of the tour and the sponsors? Because essentially, when you sponsor an event, and I've said this numerous times, someone wants to sponsor an event with me, like
Hmm.
we have Cobra Puma sponsoring the Flagstick Shootout coming up.
Yeah.
That's an ad buy
Hmm.
is what it is.
Yes. Yep.
However the numbers work out, essentially
Sure.
Cobra Puma is sponsoring that event to support the community event that we're doing, and they're a great partner of ours in that event. But they're also doing it for the exposure that comes
Of
with it,
course.
the
Yeah.
discussion about it, the display of their product on site, their discussion on our website and a podcast and in the magazine, and all. It's an ad buy.
Yeah.
So if you're John Deere, you're buying advertising space. If you're
Hmm.
not getting eyeballs watching the John Deere Classic, because at the same time the John Deere Classic is happening, the RBC Heritage Classic is going on.
Hmm.
Um, well, then what are you doing? Like, why
Yeah. Well,
why
we.
would I want to sponsor that event if everybody's watching
Yeah.
the RBC Heritage and nobody's watching the John Deere?
Hmm. Yeah, well, we have that situation already right now with during signature events. There's many opposite field events, Puerto Rico, for an example,
Well,
other
yeah, and
ones.
that's my point.
But
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 that's going to
again,
happen every week now.
well, that's the thing, and now becomes 20,
Yes.
events for those. So yes, it
Instead of
becomes
five or
much more challenging.
six, you're
Right?
that are overlapping. Now you're
Yeah,
talking every week.
yeah,
There's one or the other going on
yeah.
at the same time.
I guess that comes down to that sponsor determining, are they getting the value out of it? Are they doing it from a nonprofit standpoint? Are they generating the money for their community? Are they getting enough marketing? Are they getting enough publicity? Maybe they are to a certain point, and a little bit less doesn't kill them. Obviously, they want more. But, again, that's not for us to decide. That's for them to decide. But it is certainly something that the tour is going to have to weigh in when they're dealing with every single tournament director. Because again, people have to realize the tour is not running these events. The tour only owns a certain number of events. It comes down to the operating parties that are dealing with these events and running these events, that are, getting the sponsors and so forth. If it starts to become an issue, then that structure of having 47 tournaments between these tours starts to dwindle, and your mandate to create opportunities for players starts to disappear. So that's, as tidy as it is, a lot to be sorted out.
There are, like I said, there's still the plan to have the developmental pathways like the Corn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour Americas and PGA Tour U. There still is the plan to have the Q School, although I'm not really 100%. I guess Q School has always been to get people on the Corn Ferry Tour, so it really doesn't affect.
Well, they've gone back to the PGA Tour the last few years of having some spots available.
But I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously those people will get Challenger Series spots.
Yes, exactly.
Not Champion Series. They have to earn that.
Right.
And then there's a last chance series that would happen for the players that were in the top 120 on the PGA Championship Series, but finished outside the top 90. So those 30 would come down and play with players from kind of like they have the fall PGA Tour Fall Series now, where you're basically dropping down and then trying to play your way back in for the next year. The only thing I'll say about that is if these Challenger Series players are playing to earn spots for the next year, and so those players are getting automatically bumped up, right? So how many are getting automatically bumped up? If 30 are getting bumped down but have a last chance opportunity, are those 30 that are getting dropped down able to compete with the 30 that have earned their way up? Or is it 30 that are earning their way up, or is it only 10? Like right now, how many from Corn Ferry go directly to PGA?
5, I believe.
Okay,
I mean,
so maybe that doesn't
one gets
change.
full status. Yeah,
maybe
that
Challenger
could stay
Series.
the same.
It's only, and if that's the case, what the heck is that?
Yeah,
that's a lot of effort throughout the course of the year to play the tour in the middle.
Yes.
To only have 5 spots available. So to me, the 30, if you really want to make it about meritocracy, sorry, English, then the 30 losing their spots lose their spots.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
you don't get a second chance to come back up. You lose your spot. The 30 coming from Challenger up get your spot. You lost it. Now you've got to play the Challenger Series for a year.
Well, they do have those. They do have those that if they don't advance, they'll eligible to play the PGA Tour Challenger Series. So if they're out of the championship, they're on the Challenger Series.
Right, but they shouldn't get a chance before that even happens to regain their spot on the tour that they just lost their spot on.
I know what you're saying.
At the expense of somebody who earned their spot going up. Like it just doesn't make any sense, because then you're only going to have like 10 or 15 people from the Challenger going up. That doesn't make any sense.
But I think that's one of those protection mechanisms of trying to keep the top players around as opposed to relegating them. So the meritocracy, as you said, starts to disappear a little bit. So and on top of that,
gradually would continue to do
and that's fine to a point. And also, those 4 to 6 events in the fall are designed to be played in the fall. So how does that go versus those international series events?
Exactly.
As we mentioned before. So you know what?
Lots of moving parts still going on.
Right.
The gears are turning inside the clock right now. And with anything like this, there's so many things to take into consideration. Even when they finalize all the details and this happens in 2028, there's still going to be things that are going to have to be tweaked, because they're going to realize after they do it for a year, that didn't work. Now, the other thing, I know we got to get out of here soon here, but the other thing to consider here too is that the deal with FedEx is up at the end of 2027.
Correct.
So if with
what
all
does
this
that do with the
discussion,
playoffs?
nobody's saying anything about FedEx Cup points or FedEx Cup.
No.
They're talking about a different point system.
Yeah.
So obviously, FedEx Cup, the race to the FedEx Cup is likely gone and
Or
going to be
they're still
replaced with something else.
negotiating.
But we don't know what's happening
Yeah.
here. I'm sure FedEx is probably still wants to be involved somehow, unless they
Sure.
got somewhere else to spend, $20 million.
70
plus.
million.
like something's going to happen. So there's still some
Yeah.
other things to consider there. I'm glad that that if this is the thing, I'm glad that the FedEx Cup point standing series, that whole thing is done.
Well, there'll still be a point series.
Yeah, but it'll be different.
But it'll be different.
And
so,
the Tour
yeah.
Championship, as we said earlier, could be match play, which is kind of weird.
Where they're saying they're saying match play will be part of the playoffs, but they haven't said it'll be the Tour Championship. But we'll see. It could be.
Yeah.
So,
and they're talking about moving those events at the end of the year around, as opposed to having it always at East Lake, always at.
Correct. Which again, that's great for the fans, but is really Cypress Point or Pine Valley really going to welcome the tour? That's might be just a pie in the sky thing right now. So
Long Island's always an option.
There you go.
Especially at the end of the year, wouldn't that just be great? All right, we got to get out of here. Great discussions. 2 really good discussions this week. Thanks. Good podcast, Scotty Mac. Thanks to our sponsors, Metcalfe Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and our presenting sponsor, COBRA Golf, with all new 3D printed irons featuring fully 3D printed club heads. These irons deliver an unmatched blend of feel, forgiveness, and precision shaping that goes beyond the limits of traditional forging and casting. Experience the future of iron performance and get fit for Cobra's 3D printed irons today. Visit cobragolf.ca for more information. Hopefully you have enjoyed hearing and watching us this week. Be sure to follow us across all our social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And hit that subscribe button on YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. Watch the YouTube channel. Some good stuff is coming. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every single day. And be sure to subscribe to the Flagstick Digest newsletter delivered to your inbox 3 days a week, free of charge. Lots of good information. And don't forget, sign up for the flagstick.com shootout at Smuggler's Glen, happening July 11th and 12th this year. Still some spots available. Smaller field event, 3 to 4 flights. Going to be a good weekend. As always, we do appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for the state.